everyone. So excited today. We have the great JT Ellison. She is the New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of more than 30 novels and the Emmy Award-winning co-host of the literary TV show A Word on Words. She also writes urban fantasy under the pen name Joss Walker. And by the time this podcast comes out, her latest book, Last Scene, will be out everywhere. So good. So excited for her and to talk about this. I love this cover, by the way. I wanted to just tell you that. It's so good.
I love
Drew me
it.
right away. So welcome, JT. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and it's nice to talk to you in person. We've exchanged some stuff online. It's nice to do this face to face.
Perfect. Yeah, it was serendipitous because when you through Substack, when you released a post about this cover, I remember a while ago, and I commented and said I love that cover just randomly. That was before I even decided to do this podcast. So very serendipitous that now we're coming back full circle, and here we go, and your book's releasing, and it's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So this is a podcast where I like to interview writers and industry professionals about writing. And since you are so prolific and so experienced, I'm so excited to ask you so many questions today. But I do like to start at the beginning, and you can make this as brief or as long as possible. But just a little bit about your personal journey to writing, because I think any person who's interested in writing or in the craft is curious of how people come to it as a profession or drawn to it to take it more serious than just a hobby.
It's a great question because, we all come differently to the page, right? It just depends on our journey. My journey was I was going to be a writer. I always thought I was going to be a writer. I wrote. I was the one that people brought their papers to and said, hey, could you edit this? And, it's my gift. Words are my gift. I don't have a lot of others, but words are my gift. Can't sing, can't do math, can't tell time, but I can write. Good. But senior year, my thesis was a short story and a accumulation of poems. And at the end of my presentation, my thesis advisor pulled me aside and she said, listen, you're not good enough to get published. So you should probably think about doing something else.
Wow.
Happily, I was a double major in politics and creative writing. So I ended up going to graduate school in political management. I went to George Washington University. And that first night of class, I met my husband.
Wow.
So everything happens for a reason. Right?
Yes.
We had been married 2 years and he was from Nashville and he wanted to come home and he got a job at the Tennessean, which is our local newspaper. And we moved back and I had not been writing the entire time from graduating college. I did technical writing. I did speech writing. I did that kind of stuff, but not fiction, not my true love, no poems, nothing. And, I turned into a kind of a bad country music song. We moved to Nashville. My cat died. I kept getting lost. I couldn't find a job. I didn't have any friends. I was really miserable. I really, really was miserable and depressed and unhappy. And then we decided, you know what, maybe we need another cat. That would help, right? So I adopted a cat from the shelter and she was really sick. And the vet who treated her was looking for somebody. They were trying to hire someone. And I thought I was going to sit at the front desk and meet everybody. And they actually wanted me to be a vet tech. And I was 3 days into that, knowing I was going to quit when I picked up a dog and herniated a disc in my back.
Oh
and
gosh.
Ended up, again, bad country music song, had to have surgery, the whole 9 yards. But it was when I was recovering, I went to the library, to my local library, and asked them about new crime fiction, because I really like crime fiction. And they gave me John Sanford. And I was 3 books into the Praise series and went, you know what, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And I went home when Randy, my husband, got home and I said, listen, I want to write a book. And he said, thank God, do something, anything.
Oh my gosh.
And I did. And that's where it all started.
Oh my gosh. So many things come to mind when you say this. First of all, I want to say the thing you said about how you have a gift with words, you sure do. You really do.
Thank you.
I've been reading, and I devoured A Very Bad Thing, and I'm halfway through this uh, last scene because I just picked it up. It's yeah, your gift for writing is wonderful, and the way that the words flow and the your pacing, your sense of pacing, it's just so good. That's why I'm so excited to talk to you
Thank
about
you.
all of this.
Thank
And
you.
and a couple more things that come to mind. On the topic of serendipity, it's incredible that you were you were led astray with your vocation, with your career path, and you meet your husband in the on the seemingly wrong track, right? Which
Right?
is incredible. So I love that story. But then I also think about your the fact that you were led astray so early on in your career. That's so important that you were told no, you were told this isn't for you, and you did it anyway. Because I feel like a lot of new writers that when they hear that first real no from someone they trust, from someone they admire, that's one of those inflection points, and you can either be completely thrown off by that, or you just do it anyway. And so
Right.
that's amazing that you had that so early on in the career and you decided to forge ahead anyway. I really love that story.
I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I believed her. She was a really great teacher and she was a really great poet. And I believed her. I
Right.
mean, she was not just in a position of authority, she had my respect. So
Right.
I listened,
Right.
I listened, but something was never right,
Right.
from that moment on.
Yeah.
Something was missing,
Right.
deeply missing from my life.
Yeah. And you found it on your own accord.
Hmm.
And that moment of that person saying no to you like that in a very profound way, I think you can probably speak to this that keeps coming back. Like you probably get those struggles and those no's all throughout the journey. And so if you can't overcome that first no, then this it's going to be too hard of a too long of a road. So it kind of
Yeah.
builds you up in a way.
No, that you're absolutely right. I mean, this is not just because you get a book published, just because you get an agent, just because you get a deal. The no's keep coming. The negative reviews keep coming. It's just, you have to, they say have a thick skin. Well, that's really easy to say, but this is art. This is your heart that you're putting out there that people
Right.
trample on, or it's an idea that you absolutely love and your team's like, meh, not really doing it for us. I mean, that's really, really hard. But if you're doing that, if you're getting that kind of feedback, that means you're doing the work, right? You're actually
Right.
trying, you're actually coming up with new ideas. You're going to get a million no's over the course of your career, but you're going to get yeses too. And that is what keeps you coming back.
Right. Right. So let's talk about I want to talk about your th- the I mean the most impressive. I mean your whole bio is super impressive, but the over 30 novels is unbelievable. That's like you're in a different strata of published author, which is I'm so happy for you and it's so incredible. But I have to ask you like how what do you think allows you to be so prolific? Can you speak on like the so you've written 30 books, not many people can do that. What do you think? What's the secret? If there is a secret to being so prolific, to keep on coming up with work, any advice for maybe writers out there who were curious of how to keep up with the pace or keep up with the ideas?
I remember when I wasn't a debut, but I was pretty close to a debut. I was baby author, just a couple books out. And Laura Lippman, who's a brilliant crime fiction novelist, posted, "This is my 10th novel." And I went, wow, if I can get 10 novels, then I've
Right.
got a career, because she
Yeah.
had a career. And ten was my goal. But my publisher, when I first came up, I was doing 2 books a year.
Oh
So
wow.
2 books a year, two, four, six, eight. I suddenly had a lot of books out. In 4 years, I had 8 books out.
Wow.
Um, I write fast. I read fast. I write fast. I used to be a lot faster. I think just the vagaries of being online now,
Sure.
the distraction of the marketing and the PR and the social media and our water cooler and all the ways that, this is such an isolated job that we like to get together, right? And talk and experience things and meet readers and all of that. The distraction of the later years is the biggest thing to overcome.
Mm.
Um, the I still, from day one, I work best in the afternoon. I always, 1 to 4 is always my best writing time. I try to start by 11. Yeah, I'm not a morning writer. I wish I was one of those. I wish I could get up with the sun and get my work done. I'm not that person. And I've tried it. It just does not work. So it's consistency. It's consistently coming to work every day. And, when I finish a book, I start another one. When I finish that book, I start the next. I don't wait. I don't sit around. I'm not coasting on my, resting on my laurels. Let's put it that way, because I've got so many stories I want to tell and so many years that I missed telling them. I got to make up for those 8 years that I wasn't putting books out. Right.
Right.
But I co-wrote 12 of those books.
Okay.
So that gives a little bit of extra. I worked with Catherine Coulter on a 6-book series, The Brit and the FBI, which was really fun. All these international thriller, James Bondy-esque, near future books.
Right.
And then the Joss Walker books started out being, it was going to be 2 of us writing the series. And then my co-writer decided she didn't want to be writing urban fantasy. She wanted to be writing romance.
Okay.
So I was kind of left on my own there and had to bring in a co-writer who did 2 books. And then I worked with somebody else, not a co-writer, more of a outliner, drafter kind of person, and finished up the series. So I had a little bit of help, I sort of feel like, with some of them.
Mm.
But I had written 12 books before I started collaborating. And, now I'm working on 35. The book I'm writing right now is my 35th. And I can't keep up with the bio because it just keeps,
Sure.
I like what I do. This is really fun. It's really hard. There are days where it's like, what am I doing? I need to just, go back to school and try something else. And then there are days when it's sublime and there's nothing, you can do nothing wrong and you get in the flow and it's fantastic.
Right.
Right. You just don't know. You never
Right.
know what any day is going to bring.
Oh, but I think it's making sense with the co-writing and with the 2 a year and the consistency. I could see how that would over time
Sure.
begin
The
to do
accretion
this.
of work,
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Right. And the fact that you now have way surpassed the 10,000 hours that you need to put in to become an expert at something, right? You've gotten better at your craft with each book that you've gone through.
But I mean, when I first started, that 10,000 hours was what my goal was.
Right.
Right. And I
Right.
was in a position going, wow, that seems like a lot. How am I ever going to do that?
Right.
And I remember when I crossed the first 1,000,000 words, I'm like, I've written 1,000,000 words.
Wow. Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped to add up how many there are now, but I mean, it's millions and millions and millions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I still
That's
feel like I'm a newbie and a noob at all of this.
well
I really do.
well, you know what? That might be part of your secret too. Is that
Maybe.
the spark is still there, right? Because
Yeah.
if you lose the spark, then if it stops being fun, if it stops lighting your fire, then I'm not sure you
Yeah.
have the level of success that you've had. And I want to speak about that because it's one thing to write over 30 novels, 35 novels, but New York Times bestseller lists, USA Today, like you're achieving all these accolades. So I would love to talk about that moment in your career when that crossover happened. So when did that happen in your career when you were getting that level of attention? Was it with a certain book or was it with a certain strategy? Was it just luck that things just piled up and then suddenly people noticed you? Like how does something like that occur?
So, I had made the USA Today list with a Taylor Jackson novel. They had just started really pushing me out of mass market into paper and then into trade and then into hardcover, and then ebooks came along at the same time. And that
Okay.
just doubled our sales, right? That just immediately doubled everybody's sales, because
Right.
then you have all of this, and then audio started really taking off. So I had made the list a couple of times with my own books. The first time I made the New York Times was with a Catherine novel.
Mm.
And oh my gosh, it was terrifying. She's a #1 New York Times bestseller. It was a co-written series. We knew it wasn't going to be #1, but we thought it would make the list. And she comes from the school of, if you're not in the top 10, you're not on the list, right?
Oh,
It has to
wow.
be the print list
Sure.
to
Sure. Sure.
matter. And I was just like, whatever. So we were in New Orleans at a conference, and I was on a rooftop bar in New Orleans, and my agent called, and I was pretty blown away. We were #7. So that was really cool. The interesting thing about that, once you've hit 7, the next book has to be 6 or better.
Oh, wow.
The book after that has to be 5 or better.
Right.
You know, the next book was #2, which was great. The book after that was #2, which was great. We were #2 on New York Times, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, all at the same time, which was #2 on USA Today is a big deal. It's almost way bigger than New York Times, because it's of all books sold,
Wow.
right? It's not just in your category. It's of all books. You're competing
Right.
against everything.
Wow.
It's very heady, and the pressure of it is insane, because the expectation, hey, you've done this once before, you've got to do it again. You hit #1 and your next book doesn't hit #1, and it's a failure.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a double-edged sword. It gives you the cred. It gives you all the things that that everybody wants. Everybody wants to be a New York Times bestseller. I am no different. It's
Right.
a big, big deal. But you have to try to control the things that you can control, and that is not one of them.
Right.
What you can control, and what my goal is finishing. That is the only thing that I have in mind. I want the readers, I want the book to do well. I want it to make all the lists and get all the starred reviews. I want all of those things. But what I can control is the words. And that is where I have to focus, or else you will drive yourself bonkers trying to better yourself every single time and feeling like a failure. If, hey, you were #2, you were #1, now you're #7. Uh-oh.
Right.
What if it went the other way? And then you drop off after 1 week, and oh my gosh, what is that? And, you get your ego tied up into the numbers,
Right.
and that's not a healthy place to live.
Right. That's really interesting. So you have this moment in your career that everybody's longing for, that everybody's dreaming of, and you savor it for
10 seconds.
a brief moment, but
Where
then
are we going to be next week?
Right. But then to avoid falling into that trap of now you've reached the top and you have nowhere to go but down, it almost drives you deeper into the craft, deeper into your work. Because if you don't stay focused on your next book, if you don't stay focused on your characters, then you get sucked into that world, and that's I get it. It could be a totally unhealthy.
Yeah.
I don't want to say obsession, but it's not the part that we're in it for. That's
No,
not.
no. And it can be, when you make it, it's spectacular. And when you don't, it's awful. And when you should have, that's the worst. That's the worst. Because
Could you speak more about that? I'm curious about that.
Sure. I mean, there are times where you have well outsold the books that are on the New York Times list, and you're nowhere near it. And it is, it's very frustrating. When
Okay.
you've outsold the book that's #5 by
Right.
at least 7 or 8,000 copies, and you're not on the list and they are, wow, that can really mess with your head.
Oh yeah, I can't
So
imagine.
I mean, I'm not kidding. Stay away from all of that. That is so completely out of your control. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, it's not the end. I mean,
Right.
I've had several books on the list, but not all of them, and I'm
Sure.
doing just fine, right?
Yeah.
It's you control the things you can control.
Right. I love that. That's such great advice. And I'm happy you've made the list, and you've in my eyes you've made it, and you've stayed grounded. That's really good to see. That's a huge inspiration, especially for all of like the young or the writers out there who are still trying to get published or still trying to get the agent and all of those steps. Like I said, hearing your take on it from the other side is super valuable.
It was
I,
10 years before any of that even happened.
right, right,
So,
and
I had enough time to appreciate the work for the work
good,
before I started the competitive part of
right.
it.
Oh, that's amazing. Um, so you write a book. Now I'm supposing you started with 2 books a year and now you've shifted more to a book a year kind of pattern. Is that kind of true?
I was doing a book a year. Well, I was doing, no, I've never really done just a book a year. When I was working with Catherine, I was doing one of her books and one of my books a year.
Right.
Um, and then when I finished that series, I started the Joss Walker series. So I was doing one of my books and a Joss Walker a year.
Oh, okay.
Um, and now the last Joss book came out May 20th. So it's done. That series is done. So now I am 100% on just JT books. And as soon as I wrap this book that I'm writing right now, which, will be end of summer, then I'm going to start another one. I mean, what else would you do,
I
right? Go on
know.
vacation for a couple of weeks and then get back to work.
I know just what you mean. It's that in that moment, and I've written I'm like on the 4th book that I'm going through. So I know you could speak to this more with more experience, but that like couple, whatever it is, a month, 2 months, however long you take between finishing one book and starting the next is very it can be uncomfortable, because you feel an itch, right? And you feel like this, you just don't feel like yourself. It starts to build. Did you
Hmm.
notice that? And then you just, almost like you have to release it. It's really interesting.
And if,
Um,
I'll end up just I'll just do formatting stuff, right? I'll open the Scrivener file and I'll start the notes file and I'll move the things over that live in my book files all the time. And, just the admin of the writing, even if I'm not writing, just because it's fun.
yeah,
It's
I agree.
fun.
I'm with you totally. Let's talk a little like more, I want to get into the nitty-gritty stuff here. So, uh, you're very prolific with the writing here, and I'm curious about your approach to revision without making this, a whole
Mm.
class on revision, because I know that can go very deep. But any tips for um, a revision or your approach to it that seems to work for you that might be helpful to people?
So I revise as I'm writing. I am a firm plantser. I don't like to plot, but sometimes I have to. I like the freedom of letting something experiencing the story as it comes into being.
Right.
So what I end up doing is going back and editing everything that I wrote the day before I write the new stuff. So
Okay.
I'm in a circular loop of constantly going back, foot back, or a step back, 2 steps forward, a step back, 2 steps forward. Sometimes I have to go all the way back to the beginning because I've lost the thread. So
Mm,
I'm revising as I do that. By the time I finish, I have a relatively clean manuscript. And that's when I will take it. I will go through it. I probably do about 4 drafts. I will go through that and I will make notes to myself as I'm writing. Make sure, oh, did you tie this through? Is this something that you remembered? Don't forget to do X, just make notes in the manuscript as I'm going. Scrivener, I leave comments. And then I have a piece of paper and I'm starting, just writing down this needs to happen. This needs to happen. Don't forget this. Start matching all of that up, marking it off. And then I have a clean, by that second round, I've got a pretty clean, done manuscript. And sometimes that's the one that I'll send to my first readers. My dad's my first reader. My husband always reads.
oh, I love that.
Yeah, me too. He's 90, plays golf 3 times a week, or still reads 5 or 6 books a week. I mean, he's insanely cool. Um, so he's always my first reader, and he usually gives good input. He's really good with science. He was an aerospace engineer, so he's really good with the science of everything. I have a death investigator who reads for me. I have cops, I have military. It just depends. Sometimes I'll send a section to someone just to make sure I get something right, or I'll give them the whole book to look at, en total. And then I take those comments and I layer them back in and do one more draft. And that's usually about when I turn it into my agent and my editor, and they get it at the same time. And they will read it and get back to me with their ideas, and then we will go into developmental editing. So it's usually around 4 rounds before I turn it in.
Yeah, I love that. I think you come across a lot of advice with people saying just like rush through, get the draft on paper, even if it's terrible, and then you can shape it from there, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
And I understand that some people need to do it that way. I also like prefer going a little slower with it as far as like making sure am addressing some previous things so
Mm-hmm.
that I am kind of revising along the way without spending too much time doing it. I also like that, and I think it's good for people to hear that there's just different ways to do it.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you could speed through and never look. Yeah,
If there's one thing to take away, there are a million different ways up this mountain, and they're all right.
right,
Nobody's version of how to do this is the way to do this. It's just what works for you.
right. Oh, I love that. So I want to talk about I think 30. I've noticed in myself that I change with each book.
Mm-hmm.
So you've written 30 books, right, or 35. And so what have you noticed something in your process recently I'm sure it's changed a lot, but how do you think your process has changed like over those 30 books? What have you discovered about yourself along the way? Anything interesting that you could share there?
So the awareness of things, you do become a lot more self-aware. I know what my process is. The first 25,000 words is like pulling fossils from rocks, right? With a
Right,
toothbrush. It's awful.
right,
And then things start, coming together. And usually around 75,000, I lose the plot entirely and decide, I'm going to quit and never be a writer again. And that's generally the time when a huge twist will appear. So trusting the process is the first thing.
right.
The second, and it's something I love the introspective part of this, right? To figuring these things out. So I've been live writing last scene the whole time I've been working on this book. 22 steps through the publication process from concept to publication day. And I've learned a lot about all of my own writing, the writing world, how I interact with it. But one of the biggest things I've taken away, and I haven't written about this yet, and I'm about to, is there are 3 different kinds of stories. One is it's a setting first. 2 is it's character first. And 3 is it's a plot first.
Mm.
All of my books have landed into one of those 3 buckets. Either I've got a great setting, Paris, and I want to write a story set in
Right,
Paris.
right,
I've got a great character, Olivia Bender, and I want to write her story of her journey through infertility. Or I have a plot. And the book I'm working on now, I have a plot. And I did not have characters.
right.
I did not have a setting. And guess which one is the hardest to do? The plot. The plot books are horrible. And
Oh,
I can now look back over the history of my books, and the ones that I struggled with the most are the ones where I had a great plot, that I didn't have characters or I didn't have a setting.
I could imagine. I could totally imagine what you're saying. Um, yeah, the plot, and because as you said yourself, with being a planner, the plot, you almost like to discover the plot as you go a little bit.
Yeah.
So having that isn't totally helpful.
No,
It's kind of cutting into your process a little bit. Whereas like
completely.
having a character, everything's more grounded. Everything's more, you could sink your
Intimate.
teeth. You could sink your teeth into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
No, the ones where I know what happens, I know where the ending is, impossibly hard for me to write.
Right. Right.
Miserable, miserable books.
Right.
Why do
I
I
can
ever do that?
understand. I can understand. And I love what you said about the 75,000 word mark. I've hit that with every single book where I stop and either think, what am I doing? Or I think that I have to it's like I have to give a necessary pause and go, you know, where is this final, what's happening
Yeah,
in this final thing? Because so much has to happen, and it has to happen in just the right way for the dominoes to fall as they
sure,
should. Otherwise, it
sure.
feels inauthentic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's such a tricky part.
It is. It's
Um,
awful. I've got a friend that I'll usually call and be like, I'm gonna go jump, let's go have margaritas. I can't deal with this anymore. And she's like, oh, you're at 75,000 words, aren't you?
right,
I'm
right.
like, yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But that's you knowing your process so
Hmm.
well, because a
Yeah.
lot of people, they hit that and they give up, if they're early on in the writing
Yeah.
career. And you now know, oh, this is part of it.
It's
So
just
you
part of
don't,
it.
yeah. So you almost like here you are, old friend, welcoming it back in, and just knowing
Yep.
that only means you're on to that it's going the right way, that
Yeah,
it's
that you're about to be on to something really
oh,
big.
I love that. I love that. We're nearing the end a little bit. I do want to talk about Last Scene. So could you tell us a little bit about, I'll show the cover one more time because it's so beautiful. Could you tell
It
us a
is
little bit
so
about, yeah, I
pretty.
love it. Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
love it too.
So amazing.
It's so
I,
awesome.
I want to talk about, where you came up with the idea, or if you don't want to talk about that, because some writers don't like to talk about where they get their ideas. If you just want to, talk a little bit about the one of those three things, the plot, the setting, or the character, I would love to hear more about like where the origin came from in any way.
So this was a setting book.
Okay.
I dreamt I had this incredibly detailed, long dream. You know how some dreams are just on and on and on and on?
Yes.
It was very, very long, very detailed. And when I woke up from it, I knew I had a story and I wrote it all down. And it was about a writer's retreat in a town called Brockville.
Wow.
And the story that's in this book and the story from my dream are different, which is
Right.
great because now I've got another story that I can work with.
Oh.
But I wrote it all down and I called my agent. And I rarely call, we talk every week, but I rarely call her out of our normal talking hours and say, I got to talk to you. I got an idea. And I told her the whole story and she got real quiet, which is never a good sign. I'm like, oh no. I mean, I'm not the greatest pitcher in the world, but I really thought I kind of nailed that. She goes, did I tell you when I was on vacation last week, I was in a town called Brockville? I'm like,
What?
no, what?
That's
So
unbelievable.
yeah, it was really, so I feel like she kind of sent me the town and
Yes.
my description of the town was real similar to the town.
Wow.
And then I've got friends that live in Serenbe in Georgia, which is a planned biophilic community. They have a farm, everybody, it's like this, it's a really bougie commune. It's really cool.
Right. Right.
I love this place. And I went to visit my friend and I was 2 days into the visit and I was down by one of the shops areas and I was looking around. I'm like, this is Brockville. This actually would totally work as
Wow.
Brockville.
Wow.
And then I read Into the Wild, and saw the movie. I saw the movie and then read the book. Um, and between the three things, it all came together. And it's a story of a young woman named Hallie James who is 34 and having possibly the worst day of her life. She goes in to accept her promotion and gets fired. She's supposed to sign her paperwork to officiate her separation from her husband, who she absolutely loves, but they've got wrong, they're on the wrong course. She wants babies, and he does not, and so they're getting divorced. And then her father calls and he has fallen and broken his leg, and she's like, I'm going to go home because it's a really great way to get home, get out of here for a while. And that night, she's looking for the insurance cards for her dad and finds an article about her mother's death. She had been told her whole life that it was a car accident, but it was not. She was actually murdered, and they know who did it.
It's
And the book
unbelievable.
kicks off
Yeah.
from there.
I know what an unbelievable setup and premise. And I love to hear the inside. First of all, I love that this came from kind of like three places. I feel like
Hmm.
often these stories, it's like a triangulation, right?
It
You have an
is.
idea and it's kind of hanging and you don't know what to do with it. Sometimes those ideas sit there for a year, 2 years just by itself. And I'll pick that up someday. And it's not until it meshes with something else, and then there's this wonderful like magical collision of things, and you go, there it is. That's the
Yep.
book, right?
That's the
I
book
love
right
that.
there. Yeah.
I also love that it started with Brockville, and that book does not start in Brockville. The writer's
Mm-mm.
retreat comes a little later into the plot. So I love that that's like the idea comes there, and you could have just sat down and went, it was a nice writing retreat and just went right into the writing retreat, but you
Right.
didn't. You really you that became part of the story, but it's just a piece of it. There's so much
Yeah.
more to it.
Yeah. There's a
um
lot more to it.
yeah, I love that. Okay, so we're going to get into the fast round. This is just like a
Okay.
series of like fun little questions. You can answer them in a word. You can answer them. It doesn't have to be so fast if you don't want it to. It's just this is how we close out every interview. And then I'll give you a chance to like talk about whatever you'd like to talk about at the end. So the first question you kind of you did already answer, but I'll ask it anyway just in case there's something else you want to say about it. The first question is, are you a plotter or a pantser? And you have already answered this. Is there anything else you want to say about being a planter or
A planter.
yeah?
I will say that I am what the book needs.
Mm.
I do something called 40 scenes. So this is
Ooh,
my version of outlining.
right,
I'm a very visual writer, and I hear dialogue and I see scenes and I write them all down. And when I have 40 of them, you do the writer math, a scene, 2,000 words, 40 scenes, 80,000 words, the bulk of your book is there.
right.
So I'll write down the 40 scenes, and then once I have 40 scenes, I'm allowed to start writing.
I love that. Yeah, I think I would also put myself in the similar category to you, and I do something similar. I don't write full outlines, but try to sketch out scenes and things like
Yeah.
that. And yeah, just in just
Just
like
an
little.
idea of where your turns are.
Right. I love that. I think that works really well. Okay, next one. What's one writing rule you don't really agree with?
Write what you know. I think it's terrible advice. I think you
Yeah,
should
tell me.
write what you don't know. Go learn something new and then write about it.
I
Go
love that.
experience something new and write about it.
I love that. I also struggle with that one too. I love the writing as an act of discovery. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, this one you could take any way you want. And this could be family, this could be career based. Who inspires you?
Oh my gosh. Everybody, my dad. I mean, my 90-year-old playing golf 3 times a week dad, very, very inspirational. When I don't feel like working out, I think about him and I go get myself on the bike. There's a lot of writers that I really find, and I'm so lucky to be able to meet and talk to so many of them. One is Ariel Lawhon. She's a dear friend of mine, but she does historical fiction, and I'm absolutely blown away by the amount of work that has to go into that book. I mean, I'm writing thrillers. They're
Right,
entertainment. You're going to read it in a day. It's going to take me a year to write, but you're going
right,
to read it in a day. It takes her 2 or 3 years to write a book. Diana Gabaldon, same thing. The level of intelligence and knowledge and ability that you need to write that kind of fiction just blows my mind, and I would never be able to do it. I don't think I could stay in a story as long as they have to stay in a story to tell it,
right,
to do the research and to tell the story.
right. I love both of those answers. The personal one, your dad inspires me. He's reading
Yeah.
5 books a week at 90. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's
And
pretty
yeah,
awesome.
and that's great to be inspired by other writers in other genres that
Mm.
are tackling something that you just don't have the mind for. I
No,
love
I
that
do
too.
not. I don't. I
I
mean,
love
I
that.
I can read it and enjoy it because I know I will never try to write it.
Right, right. Okay, next one. If you could offer one piece of advice, you've given us a lot of advice, but to young writers, to new writers, if there's one piece of advice you could offer today, what would it be?
Respect your time. Find your
Mm,
time. Find the time that you work the best and respect it. Show up for the work and make everyone around you respect it as well. You know, it's very easy to say, I'm going to write from 1 to 3 today. And at 1:30, somebody's bleeding, or somebody needs to have a conversation, or somebody wants to have a cup of tea. It's really easy to get pulled away. So with any luck, you know, find your time and stick to it. And
That's a
make
great
other
one.
people respect it.
Oh, that's a great one. Especially with, you already gave us advice about the importance of consistency. So consistency can only happen, as you're saying, if you
Well, if you don't respect your time, why would anybody else respect it?
Right. Oh, I love that. And one final question, and then for the fast round here, and then we'll wrap up. Name a book that changed your life.
So it's the Norton Anthology of Poetry.
Oh, wow.
Specifically, Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem, The Eagle.
Oh,
When I
I'm not
read
familiar.
it, you're not. So
No.
it starts, he clasped the crag with crooked hands. It's an eagle, right?
Yeah.
Clasping the crag with, well, I grew up in Colorado, and there were eagles all over the place hanging out in the trees. And I read that and I understood metaphor. It just went, oh, this is what language can do. Wow. I was 7 or 8. I don't know. I was really young. And that was it. That was when I started writing.
Wow.
So that's the one. And it's just a very short poem. I highly recommend everyone look it up. It's beautiful and evocative. And he gets so much across in just 3 stanzas, just super short. It's really amazing.
I love that answer. And, you know, now that you said that, I wonder how many of us, if we were really pressed, like aspiring writers and writers, would attribute some of our like early falling in love with writing to poetry rather than a book.
Sure.
Because the language is so rich and so inspiring.
Yeah, it was so
Yeah.
much easier. It was so much easier to digest little bits of poetry than it is a full novel.
Oh, I
you
love
know?
that.
Yeah.
I love that answer. JT, it has been such a pleasure talking to you today.
You too.
We could do this for hours. The insight is endless. Thank you so much. Before we say goodbye, before we go, is there anything you want to plug? I know Last Scene is now going to be out, and is there anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Well, just the writing of the book that is on my blog, The Creative Edge, on Substack. If anybody's interested in the nitty-gritty details of how I came up with this idea all the way through publication day, they can find it on The Creative Edge. And my website also is jtellison.com, and I'm Thriller Chick online.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I wish you all the success in the world with this
Thank
book
you.
and your
Thank
next
you.
one. I can't wait to just follow the journey.
It's so good to meet you. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching The Right Thing. If you're interested in learning more about what we talked about in today's podcast, you can head over to Substack to check out my newsletter at jasonearhart.substack.com for an even deeper look into the writer's journey. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you can check out all the things we'll be talking about in the coming weeks. We'll be back next time with another interview, offering more insights to take your craft to the next level. Until then, just keep writing.